Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And I don't know what's going on today, but I guess the game industry just decided to drop a ton of news all at once. It's been a very, very busy day to say the least, so we're going to dive into all of that, including some new Xbox Game Pass games. You know, I always gotta love to talk about Xbox Game Pass, and it is that time of the month. Well, let me tell you, this might be one of, if not the very best month for Xbox Game Pass in the year of 2022. It is a great, and I mean a great, lineup of games with a few big day one titles, so stay tuned for all of that. And then also, Sony brushed up on their FromSoftware investment that they made earlier this year, and it seems like the two companies have some interesting plans going forward. Fans of Bloodborne and Demon Souls might be a little happy about this. As always though, before we get started, go ahead and make sure to hit those buttons below, like, subscribe, and hit that bell, so that way you can stay up to date with all of the latest gaming news. That's what we're all about on this channel, and well, we just love games here, so hit those buttons below. Let's go and get right into things though, starting off with a new Nintendo Direct, or kind of. I mean, yes, they are calling it a Nintendo Direct, but it's not really what you would expect from a Direct per se, because this is actually dedicated to the upcoming Super Mario Bros. Movie. As you can see, they posted a nice little picture here. It does look actually really good from this picture. We'll see about the whole movie, but they also noted that it will include its premiere trailer and that it will air on October 6th at 1:05 p.m. Pacific time. That's a bit of a peculiar time frame, but anyways, something that they made very clear is that there will be no new game updates. So don't go in expecting to see something like that Metroid Prime remake that we just keep on hearing about. That we're gonna have to kick that a little further down the road. But this has been an ongoing trend when it comes to games though. The movie and game industry seems to be more connected right now than maybe ever before. And a lot of these beloved IP are actually having success with those adaptations. I mean, for years and years, games to movie adaptations, they just did not work at all. They were not very good. And the same can be said vice versa. But that is changing really on both sides of things. And now we'll kind of see if Nintendo can have some success as well. I mean, they do have literally some of the most beloved and well-known IP in the entire game industry. So it will be very interesting to see if they can get those to translate over to movies. In fact, in a separate but related piece of news, Nintendo just launched an official website for its new animation studio. They did announce their intent to acquire Dynamo Studios back in July of this year, and now they've officially changed their name to Nintendo Pictures, and they say they aim to create unique videos that will remain in memories forever. So my guess here is that they're either going to go ahead and work on animated shows and movies, or they'll work on shorts instead. I imagine it's probably one of the two things. I believe this was the studio that worked on those Pikmin shorts years ago, so that is a possibility here, but I think it is starting to become a little bit more clear. Nintendo seems to be interested in bringing some of their beloved IP to an even broader audience, and I think especially if this Mario movie has success, we could start to see some of their other IP maybe come to things like Netflix sometime in the near future. Now, CD Projekt Red, they also revealed quite a bit today. They did have a strategy call where they announced multiple new projects in development. Actually, in fact, if you take a look at this infographic here, you can see that they revealed six different projects that they're overseeing currently as of this moment. Yeah, they're very busy. Now, we already knew about the Cyberpunk expansion dubbed Phantom Liberty that is set to release next year, and then the new Witcher trilogy. We knew about those games, but as for these other four, we'll go over them one by one because there's already some rather interesting details here. This starts with Project Sirius, which is a new Witcher game. It is being handled by Molasses by the Flood, which is the studio behind Drake Hollow. So that's a very interesting choice, not something that I would have necessarily expected, but they do have 60 plus developers working on this game. It is in pre-production, and there will be some sort of multiplayer. So this could end up being a very different style of Witcher game. Then they also revealed Project Canis Majoris, which is another Witcher game, but this time from a studio made of ex-Witcher veterans. So we do know that they fully understand the Witcher series, and their goal is to create a single-player open-world RPG. So this here is sounding a little bit more like what fans of the series would expect. Now, as for Cyberpunk, they did already greenlight greenlight a full-fledged Cyberpunk 2077 sequel. So there it is. It has been confirmed. And I mean, this game is probably still years and years away, but to get that confirmation, I think a lot of people will be very happy with this, especially with its resurgence as of recent. A lot more people are interested in that Cyberpunk IP. Now, the last game here is Project Hadar, which is a brand new IP. We're not getting too much detail on this one just yet, but they did note that it's currently on its conceptual phase and it's being developed 100% internally. It also appears to be yet another RPG. So if you are a fan of CD Projekt Red, if you're a fan of Cyberpunk or the Witcher series, you're in for a good time because they have a lot of stuff incoming over the next so many years. Now, some of this stuff might take a while before they're completely finished, but yes, there's a lot of stuff coming from CD Projekt Red. Let's just go and talk about Xbox Game Pass, though, because much like CD Projekt Red, fans of Game Pass just always, and I mean always, seem to have something to look forward to, and that's doubly so in the month of October. They did reveal their lineup for the first 20 days, yes, just the first 20 days, and let's just go and check out the complete list here. It includes Costume Quest, Chivalry 2, A Plague Tale Requiem, Scorn, Evil, Dyson Sphere Program, The Walking Dead Season 1 and 2, and then you have Medieval Dynasty. Now you can see in the picture what platform each game is coming to, but the big new release here is none other than A Plague Tale Requiem. This is a huge game launching directly into Game Pass that I am very much looking forward to myself. It is coming on October 18th. I mean, this is one of those games that you specifically subscribe to Game Pass for. This is a AAA caliber type of game that retails for $60. And if you're subscribed to Game Pass, well, that just means that $60 is saved right away. I mean, that's already half of the entire year worth of Game Pass if you're in that base subscription, which is just crazy. And this is the exact reason on why it's such a phenomenal deal. It really just kind of pays for itself. But let's just go and talk about the game specifically. I fully expect A Plague Tale Requiem to be a great game. And that's because the first game, A Plague Tale Innocence, was actually one of the best story-driven single-player experiences that released last generation. If you haven't already played that game, definitely go check it out. I cannot recommend it enough. It had an emotionally gripping story with solid stealth-based gameplay, and from what I've seen, when it comes to its sequel, it looks just as good and maybe even better from a gameplay standpoint. There's even more stealth-based options at your disposal. So just go ahead and mark your calendars for October 18th. I do fully expect this game to be absolutely fantastic. Now, as for Scorn, this is another big day one release that I've seen garner a lot of excitement since it was first revealed. Scorn will be releasing on October 14th, and this is supposed to be like this atmospheric first-person horror game. From what I've seen, it appears to be a slower paced game, which might not necessarily be for everybody, and it does have some Metroidvania elements to it. Honestly, I'm not really fully convinced on this game quite yet, but I do think that it looks interesting, especially with its grotesque atmosphere. I mean, if it's as good as its atmosphere, it could end up being a great game, but you know, that's kind of the great part about Xbox Game Pass. We're gonna get to try it out ourselves because it is releasing day one. You just gotta absolutely love it. Now, speaking of those day one games, you do also have Evil, which is a multiplayer social deduction game. It takes place in a village riddled with murders, and you'll have to deduce who the murderer is, which might even be you. So I do like the concept of this one. There are board games out there with this concept, which is a lot of fun, and now we'll be able to take that into the virtual world with Evil. It does release on October 11th. Now, as for some of these other games, of course, the Walking Dead Telltale series, those are great for those looking for those more cinematic point-and-click style of adventures, but I also want to go ahead and point you on a direction to Costume Quest. Don't overlook this game. It's an older release, but I think that it's aged rather well because the art style that they use, and it's just a good turn-based RPG developed by Double Fine. It's got a good personality to it, and you have different abilities based on what costume you're wearing, and with Halloween right around the corner, this could be a good game to play in the spooktacular month of October. Again, though, this is just the first 20 days of the month, and there's still more games coming to Game Pass this month, including Persona 5 Royal. That's not on the graphic here, but we do know that that's coming day one on October 21st. So just an absolutely fantastic lineup for Game Pass. But let me know, which game are you looking forward to playing the most? Now, PlayStation also gave us a very interesting update today on their FromSoftware investment. They did acquire a minority stake in FromSoftware earlier this year, and it created a lot of discussion on what all that could possibly mean. And well, they did go into a little more detail on what that could lead to today. So this is coming from the PlayStation Studio chief Herman Hulst in an interview where he was asked about that investment, and check out his response here. He said, "You should think of collaborations on the game development side first and foremost, but it's also not unthinkable with our PlayStation Productions efforts that we explore opportunities." So this is kind of a similar thing that we were talking about with Nintendo earlier. The game and movie industry is more connected now than ever before, and Sony's a big part of that. They do have their own movie production studios, and they've made a heavy commitment in adapting their game-related IP. I mean, just earlier this year, you had the Uncharted movie. There's The Last of Us, that's coming next year. Horizon, that's in the pipeline, as is God of War. But this here is interesting because it sounds like PlayStation Productions, they might want to explore opportunities with third-party developers as well. Though in this case, we could maybe refer to it as a second party because the more interesting part about this specific statement is in regards to game collaborations. That's what we're all kind of excited about. Now, FromSoftware and Sony, they've worked together on a few games in the past, including Demon's Souls and then Bloodborne. Both of those games are just absolutely mwah. I love FromSoftware games, but it sounds like Sony, they want to maybe make another game together. I mean, they could maybe even make a sequel for one of those games, being Demon's Souls or Bloodborne, and I think that that would have a lot of success, especially with how well Elden Ring has been doing. I mean, that game has really just launched FromSoftware to a whole new stratosphere. But the thing about FromSoftware is that they're fully capable of working on multiple games at once. Elden Ring, Sekiro, and their upcoming unannounced game, which by this point very much looks like it's Armored Core, were all in development at the same time, just at different points in their progression. So I could very much see a situation where Bandai Namco and FromSoftware makes a sequel to Elden Ring, that'll be their big multi-platform title, and then Sony and FromSoft, they could maybe do another game collaboration on a PlayStation specific title. Sony Japan, they did help out with Bloodborne in the past. Unfortunately, as sad as it may be, they're not really a thing anymore, but Sony does have some support studios now, and they also have XDev, so maybe they could help with a project like this. Either way though, more games from software, yeah, I am always on board for that. Let me know though, if this does actually end up happening, what would you prefer? A Demon's Souls sequel, Bloodborne 2, or a completely new IP? Let me know in the comments below. Now, we did also get an update for Dead Space Remake, and I got some good news here and then some so-so news. Now, the good part here is that they did finally reveal its full gameplay trailer today, and it looks great. My hope for this remake was always for it to get the Resident Evil remake treatment, and that very much seems to be what's happening here. Visually, it looks phenomenal, and it looks like Dead Space, just kind of amplified with those modern visuals, and that's going to be such a huge benefit for a game like this. I mean, it was already a scary game in the first place, and a lot of people even consider it to be an all-time great in this genre, but with those new visuals, it's just going to be crazy. I will drop a link in the description below if you want to check out its full trailer with sound, so definitely go check that out. But as for the so-so news, pre-orders did go live today, revealing its $70 price tag. So there it is. It is another $70 game. I was hoping it would be $60 considering it is a remake, but I guess it's just becoming more common by this point. It increasingly looks like this might be the new standard going forward. At the very least though, it does look like a premium remake with a lot of effort poured into it, if that means anything to you. If you are a big Dead Space fan though, they did also announce a collector's edition in partnership with Limited Run Games. It goes for $275 and includes a wearable helmet if that's something you're interested in. Let's go and take a look at the poll of the day, though. And yesterday, of course, I asked you all about PlayStation, so now I wanted to ask you all about Xbox. What is your favorite generation of Xbox? And as you can see here, this was really just a two-console race, with the Xbox 360 taking the majority of the votes with 53%, then the Xbox Series took 38%, while the original Xbox and the Xbox One both took 5% apiece. So there you have it, and I thought the results here were very interesting, and it actually aligns with my own opinion as well. See, the thing about Xbox is that the 360 is also my current #1 Xbox platform, and that ultimately really just kind of comes down to its innovation at the time, and the lifelong memories that are linked to that specific console. The 360 really was that platform that popularized online gaming for consoles with Xbox Live, and it was just such a surreal and magical time during that era. I mean, even all these years later, I don't really feel like online gaming feels quite the same because most people nowadays, they just turn off their mics instead. I mean, I can't blame them for how toxic the community is, but back on the 360, the community was very active, and for me, I made several lifelong friends on Xbox, specifically with Gears of War. Gears really was that series that my friends and I would just play hours upon hours every single day and just have an absolute blast with it. Again, there's just so many fond memories tied to that console. Even when it came to the Red Ring of Death, I mean, that was an atrocious situation, but it still couldn't stop how good the Xbox 360 was. I myself had 3 red rings. Some of you all might remember the towel trick. I used to do that when Call of Duty 4 was out and at its apex. The thing is, though, is that the Xbox Series, from a game standpoint, especially when it comes to first party, it has the potential of topping the Xbox 360 because they now have just so many studios and so many exclusive titles in their pipeline. Game Pass, it's also crazy, and I feel like Xbox right now has never really had a brighter future, and it seems like a lot of the comments kind of echoes this sentiment as well. As you can see here, Evad said, "So far I'd have to say the 360 era, but this series era is so far tracking to end up being even better so long as they can eventually get games out the door after so many delays." Then you have Xbox MGC saying, "I absolutely love the Xbox 360 generation. There were so many plug-ons for it, including Kinect, Guitar Hero, Lips, etc. to enjoy. But I have to say my Series X has given me most of the games I love via backwards compatibility and even made them better. I'm loving this generation and already off to a great start with some of my picks being Forza Horizon 5, Aliens Fireteam, Elden Ring, Guardians of the Galaxy, and my absolute favorite, Cyberpunk 2077. Next year sounds mental for games." Then even with Jay Bivy, they say, "Love the Xbox 360 days, but Series X and S are proving to be good, and hopefully they'll be back next year." So I mean, you're just seeing this type of comment time and time again, where there's a lot of excitement for the Xbox Series, and maybe it will eventually be the king of Xbox platforms, but the Xbox 360 still currently holds that crown because, I mean, that console was just too good back during that era. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.